Over the last 8 years of my adult life, I've had countless number of people tell me that they're depressed, that they've been diagnosed with depression. I've had close friends that have had seemingly great lives tell me that they too have been diagnosed with some form of depression. I myself have had periods of my life where there was very little joy, very little pleasure in doing things, and I did feel depressed, and I felt very unhappy on a daily basis. I've worked with several clients that seem totally normal, only to find out later that they're on antidepressants. And I just see this word, this diagnosis, showing up almost everywhere in today's world. This notion, this idea that you just have something wrong with you, something off in your brain, your genetics, your DNA, and your best bet to fix it is a diagnosis and a little pill. I don't buy it. I refuse to believe that with the medicine system in this country, with the way that we diagnose people and prescribe them medication, coupled with the amount of toxic bullshit that is in our society and the complete lack of hard work, discipline, healthy food, and overall ambition across the majority of people, I find it hard to believe that all of the people that are diagnosed with depression, that are on depression medication, that there is really something deep down that is completely out of their control that is causing it. I don't believe there is really a chemical imbalance in their brains or whatever the hell the companies who are pushing these products want us to believe. And I'm going to share with you exactly why I think there is a much more practical explanation to why millions and millions of people feel depressed all the time. But in my opinion, there's nothing actually wrong with them on a cellular level. And there's nothing wrong with their brain chemistry, but rather there are 5 things wrong with how they're living their lives. This, I believe, is the root of what's actually causing their depression. My name is Cooper Page, and I'm an online men's health and fitness coach. And if you're new here, welcome. I make content about nutrition, fitness, biohacking, longevity, and self-development. And you're probably wondering right at this very moment, why the should I listen to you? It's a great question. I'll answer that in 2 ways. Number 1, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should reject new ideas. Maybe continue getting information from where you always do, and you can stay in your little echo chamber of confirmation bias. Number 2, I'm just a deep philosophical thinker with an analytical mind that makes many observations in this world. As I said, I've had many people very close to me have this so-called depression. I myself have experienced it come and go, and I'd like to think I've studied enough psychology and been far enough along my own self-development journey that I feel called and maybe somewhat qualified to break down a very practical opinion and explanation on this subject. I think you'll find an enormous amount of truth rooted in my explanation. And at the end of the day, this is just what we would call a hot take. I mean, I'm just some random guy on the internet that only talks out of one side of his mouth. Let's go on to the 5 things that you're doing wrong in your life that are causing you to be depressed. Thing number 1, you're not disciplined. Your lack of discipline is causing your problems in life. My favorite definition of discipline is choosing between what you want and what you want more. Often this means choosing between what you want in the short term and what you want in the long term. For example, I want to sit on the couch and relax, but I want a 6-pack more, so I know that it's 7:30 in the evening and I worked all day long, but I'm going to get in my car and go to the gym instead of kick my feet up and chill. Or, man, I really want to eat pizza and cookies tonight, but I want to lose 30 pounds more, so I'm going to choose something else to eat that still tastes great, but aligns with my fitness goals. And I think when you constantly choose the easy, short-term gratifying choice, you often sacrifice your progress towards whatever long-term goal that you have. And from what I've seen, the more difficult long-term goals are the ones that drive a lot of the happiness and fulfillment in life. Fitness is the easy example, but all of these principles apply perfectly to what you're doing in your business, your work life, your personal life, etc. The more that you choose the easy things that give you satisfaction now, the longer it takes you to reach those loftier and more rewarding goals that take time, discipline, and persistence. I believe it's this lack of progress towards a truly rewarding life that you can be proud of that leaves people feeling empty and emotionless. In 2024, it's so easy to just do nothing and still get by. Most of us have roofs over our head, any amount of food at our beck and call, clean water, buy whatever we want with one click on Amazon, credit cards, buy now, pay later options. Maybe we have parents supporting us financially, letting us live in their house until we're in our mid to late 20s and beyond. We got unemployment money if we're out of work, stimulus checks. We are so well taken care of for the most part, and our quality of life is so high in first world countries that you could actually be a completely lazy piece of shit with zero goals and ambition who has taken literally 0 steps towards any type of self-development, and you can still survive. You can get by with very little effort. If you put forth that little effort in other times of human history, like, you would be dead. It wouldn't be possible. But today it is. And I think that's a problem. You think there's something wrong with you, but when you take a look around at the life that you've created or not created, you take a real honest hard look at yourself in the mirror, and it's like, who the f wouldn't be depressed in your shoes? I would be. There's nothing special or out of place about you hating the shitty life that you're living. Like, you have to ask yourself the difficult question of, have I actually done anything in my life or accomplished anything that is truly deserving of happiness or joy or fulfillment? You look around and you're like, I'm out of shape. I don't feel confident with the person I see in the mirror. You look around, you realize that you're alone. You don't have any romantic prospects in your life that you're proud of. You see that there's all these areas of your life that you're not disciplined in, and it's resulted in you settling in your career, settling in all these areas of your life that are important to you. Maybe you don't love the city that you're in. There's nothing really fun or exciting to you. You've grown apart or distanced yourself from your friends. You don't really vibe with them anymore. But you haven't found that new group of friends that you really enjoy. You realize that all of these things in your life are just mediocre. They're nothing to write home about, and you have no one else to blame but yourself. That doesn't feel very good. Of course you're depressed and feeling like shit. You haven't done anything truly difficult or taken any drastic measures to design your life how you want it to look. Maybe you're secretly waiting for these things to all of a sudden just go your way, or for everything to just eventually work out. It doesn't happen that way. Things don't just go your way. No one is coming to save you. You have to make shit happen and go out and create the life that you want to live. Thing number 2, dopamine overload. You're getting dopamine everywhere from your social media, porn, Netflix, junk food. You're getting cheap little hits of the feel-good hormone that requires very little effort. For thousands of years, we had to work very hard in order to get a dopamine release, whether that was physical labor, building something towards a goal, or that was like hunting and going out and gathering food in order to have something delicious in our mouth. I think there's definitely something damaging that happens to your brain from constant dopamine hits, especially when you're getting an abnormally large amount of dopamine hits without the required effort and sacrifice that would normally have been required to get it. But what might be a bigger issue with all these things is that they waste your time and they distract you from doing the things in life that are actually going to lead to happiness and fulfillment. If you're consuming social media all the time, you're probably not spending near enough time as you could be working on yourself or learning, making money, creating content, or whatever it is that is hopefully moving you closer to your goals or your source of income. If you're binge watching Netflix every night for, let's say, 2 to 3 hours, you're losing 14 to 24 hours a week that you could be putting towards working, doing some hobby, learning a new skill, working out, meal prepping food, or literally insert anything else here that would actually move the needle forward in your life versus just purely being entertained. Now, a quick side note, I think there's definitely a time and a place for pure entertainment. Watching Netflix or a movie, relaxing. Look, I don't want to leave the impression that watching a movie or a TV show is always bad. Definitely not. But I think most people are abusing it. They're doing it far too often and for too long. Thing number 3 is constantly comparing yourself to other people online. I love the famous line by Theodore Roosevelt, "Comparison is the thief of joy," which still rings true today. It might even be more true today. It's so easy to watch everyone else live their dream life while you sit at home and do nothing. Or at least it feels like everyone else is out there living their dream life when a lot of them actually aren't. It may seem like people are doing awesome things all the time, but mostly it's just a highlight reel that is very much a false facade of their reality. You can go on one weekend vacation 2 hours away from your hometown and take enough pictures so you can post for months to follow. You can easily make it look like you travel all the time when you actually don't. Even myself, I'm totally guilty of this, as many of us are. I will put most of the fun and exciting things on my social media because I mean, that's what I think people like to see. That's what I feel like makes me look cool, gives me status, etc. But in reality, my life is a lot less exciting and it's more normal, it's more boring than I make it seem. The faster you realize that everyone does this at every level, the better off that you'll be. Even the people who really are living it up all the time and showing it online, they're still just the 1% of the population. But because of social media and the algorithms constantly feeding you this stuff, it feels like it's everyone else. I don't think there's actually that much higher of a percentage of the population in 2024 who are doing better and bigger things and who have more money than before. I just think it's the fact that never before in our lives have we had such exposure to these things on a daily basis. And of course, there's a larger population today than basically ever before, so that means 1% is now a larger total amount of people. But think about how many financially successful ballers there were back in the 60s and 70s, but you just didn't know about them. Sure, the most famous ones were in the news or they were talked about on TV, but you didn't see a 30-second reel of them flexing their cash on a yacht with models like you do now every single day. The percentage of population that fits the bill of the successful person is probably not all that much higher. It just seems like it's higher because technology and social media makes it really easy to see this stuff. In 1965, you could be living in New York City and there could be thousands of ballers living it up all over the city, eating at the nicest restaurants, spending money at clubs, doing it big, but you'd have no fucking idea because there was no technology that would allow you to see that. So even though that stuff was happening all around you, you didn't have a constant reminder or have pictures and videos of it being shoved down your throat. Thing number 4 is porn addiction. Not only do I think addiction of any kind is problematic, but there are plenty of unintended negative side effects from watching porn and doing it very often. Firstly, I think it's just overall super unnatural to watch something that triggers such a high amount of dopamine without having to work for it at all. To recreate the amount of dopamine released from watching porn on your phone is pretty difficult to do elsewhere. Certainly like 100 times harder than it is to just type big boobs into the search bar on whatever website you're using. And it can really mess up your relationship and expectations when it comes to women. And it can make you less attracted to women in the real world. Real women have flaws. They have some cellulite on their ass. Their tits might be slightly different sizes. Their lip genetics might not be very good. And while lip injections are super common in 2024, not every girl is going to do that. And so her lips might not have that plump and symmetrical enhanced look that you're used to. Not to mention that in terms of quality of women, when it comes to purely physical attraction, you're getting used to pleasuring yourself to the image of a woman who is probably an 8 out of 10 at least in the face, sometimes even higher, and is probably damn near a 10 out of 10 when it comes to her body. Super fit, small waist, huge fake tits, ass, and it's like you had to accomplish nothing in your life to be able to get off to that caliber of woman. Again, just speaking about her physical caliber, definitely not speaking on her character or personality. If she's a porn star, she's basically a 0 in that category. But like, do you realize how difficult it is to pull that type of woman in the real world? There's no way that the type of women that you're currently dating or seeing in your real life are even close to that. So it can skew your expectations and your attraction to normal women. Obviously, the exception here is if you're Drake or Dan Bilzerian or someone like that and you're watching porn and you can actually bag that type of chick in the real world, but like, you ain't fucking Drake. If you're used to getting turned on by basically a supermodel who is honestly gorgeous, like top 1% of hot girl genetics, then you slap on makeup, lip filler, and plastic surgery on top of that, do you think that most girls even look remotely close to that? No. And if you're someone who is feeling depressed in your life and probably struggling with a lot of the other stuff that I've already mentioned in this video, chances are the female options that you have in your life are probably not even in the same realm as these chicks that you're watching on your phone. That's probably not going to help you feel motivated to date the options you have in real life and want to have sex with them if you are constantly comparing them to the women that you're looking at on your phone, even if you're doing it subconsciously. Also, realize that if you're watching porn all the time, that means you're probably not having sex with real women very often, which means that there is a very disproportionately high amount of your exposure to sex and to sexual gratification that is coming from something fake and overly exaggerated. That cannot be good for your brain and your sexual life, which leads me to another point, which is that if your porn consumption is causing or in some way negatively influencing your ability to have sex in the real world with a real woman, that is going to negatively impact your mental health. Every straight man wants to be crushing it and doing well with girls, whether you're dating multiple women or you found an awesome girl who you're now investing tons of time and energy into, a girl that brings you hopefully a ton of joy and peace in your life, maybe someone that you've fallen deeply in love with. And those relationships that you have with women, whether they are as short-term as a one-night stand or as long-term as a serious 3+ year relationship, they make you feel good as a man. Granted, of course, you're not manipulating women and doing a bunch of devious stuff that makes you feel like shit. And of course, if the serious relationship is going well. But if your porn addiction is getting in the way of you having these relationships in real life, you're not going to feel very good about yourself. That happiness that comes from women in your life won't be there. All of the points that I just made are why I stopped watching porn and stopped following all Instagram models on social media 7 years ago. I don't want to be exposed to that type of woman unless I can earn it in the real world. Thing number 5, you can't fix your own problems. One of my favorite definitions of success is by Earl Nightingale, and he says, "The degree of our success will be determined by the extent to which we can solve our problems." This goes for everything. It's not just about financial success. Matter of fact, that very well might be the least of your worries and problems. You always hear people say, when you get rich, it solves your money problems, but then you're left over with all of your other problems. And it's true. I've experienced this myself to a certain degree. We all have problems of different shapes and sizes, and problems can make us unhappy. But the cool thing is, every problem has a solution. Now, it's easier to say that than it is to find the solution, I know. But you may be unhappy and depressed because you're just terrible at solving your own problems. Maybe the biggest problem in your life is that you're super unhappy with the way that your body looks. You have no confidence when it comes to your body. Maybe you're overweight, you're fat, you feel like a slob, and it just eats away at your confidence, which then affects your dating life, your business life, and probably a bunch of other things. Same goes for guys that are super skinny and scrawny. They don't have an ounce of muscle on them. And if this is a huge source of your mental pain, and for any number of reasons you do not know how to solve this, then it will most likely make you unhappy to some degree. That is not abnormal or special or anything difficult to understand. It certainly doesn't point to some rare chemical imbalance that only you and a select few other unlucky individuals were born with. Like, if I hated my body and absolutely felt like shit when I looked at myself in the mirror with my shirt off, I would be fucking depressed too. I see people all the time who are technically, by the book or according to their doctor, depressed. But then I take one look at their life and I see that they have nothing going for them. They're fat or they're out of shape, not confident, not disciplined. They're not crushing it in their work life. Their personal life and social life might be in shambles. They live in a gross place. They live somewhere depressing. They don't challenge themselves. They don't do anything fun. And I'm like, yo, if I had your life, I would be fucking depressed too. Your life sucks right now. Why would you be happy? I wouldn't be. Things don't just go your way. You have to make them go your way. Your life isn't just going to be sunshine and rainbows, and an awesome, happy life isn't just going to be dropped off at your doorstep one day. Like, you have to work hard for that. You have to have intention behind the things that you do and the way you live your life to be happy. You have to spend time, attention, and real effort solving all of your life's problems. Otherwise, you won't be happy. And you sure can try to numb the pain with alcohol, drugs, medication, whatever. But wouldn't it be such a better route to just try harder, work smarter, spend more time, and be more intentional with solving your own problems? Take accountability for your life and your actions and actually do something to make it better. Let me give you a real life example and tell you about my best friend. He has spent a lot of time and attention building an ironclad mindset. He spent a lot of time building himself up in his mind. He's found a way to build up a massive amount of self-love and confidence within himself. He's tried really hard, and he's been quite successful at solving a lot of his own problems. He has a super calm and collected way that he interfaces with the world. He doesn't derive his happiness and fulfillment from anything that's external. So whether the world around him is crumbling or everything is going his way, he's cool as a cucumber, and he's relatively unaffected, and he's happy. At least that's how it seems from the outside, and I know this guy very well. I say all this to say that it's been very clear to me that there is a large spectrum of self-development. And the difference between someone who is a level 1 out of self-development and a level 25 is absolutely astronomical and will have a complete night and day difference on your mental health, among many other things in your life. My friend has spent the time and energy to figure out how to solve his own problems, and as a result, he's happy and loving life all of the time. But he wasn't born that way. He fought tooth and nail through all of his own life struggles and mental battles to come out the other side. And I know that you can do the same. It's easier said than done, but it's not impossible. I want you to know that you can take control and responsibility for your own life and your own happiness. Life doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. So go out there and make something of your life. Build a life that makes you happy and fulfilled. Your future self is counting on you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.